Hey everyone, and welcome back again. Today I'm doing a follow-up video to my last one, which was about the Cyrtarachne Facade. I learned how to say the name. And today is going to be talking about my full build and properly optimized build with this helmet for the Strand Hunter, the Threadrunner. Now, you can obviously use different exotics with this class, and I'm sure there's other ways to play it, but for me, this is the most optimized version of the way that I think this class plays best. So at a glance, this is my build here. Of course, I have the exotic helmet, and I'm running stats of 10, 8, 5, 10, 4, 3. Some of you might be questioning that, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Shifting over to the mod screen, you can have a quick at a glance of the mods that I'm using on this build. Unfortunately, there are a lot of mods right now that are just not working as intended, and some things that specifically with the Hunter Dive class ability, the alternate air dive that suspends people, some mods aren't working with that either. Now that we've seen the at a glance though, let's dive a little bit deeper into my choices on the build, starting with, of course, our fragments. I've chosen the Thread of Ascent. This is just a staple on the Hunter. The next I've chosen is Thread of Finality. This is purely for that 10 recovery. Then I've chosen Thread of Binding for the 10 resilience, but it also has a pretty good in super effect. Of course, it is just a super effect, so it's not going to be active all the time, but we're mainly using it for the 10 resilience, and the suspending burst from super final blows is a nice to have. Finally, I used Thread of Generation. I don't know if this is entirely worth it in PvP, but my thought process is, as with much of build crafting in Destiny, is going to be just have as much uptime on the one ability you want as much as you can, or just nearly 100% uptime. This allows us to get closer to that. Even though it's minus 10 discipline, we can still get to 10 discipline ideally, and then just playing the game is going to give us an even faster cooldown for our grapples, which is the whole center of this entire build and class in my opinion. For some of you that might not need the stats, or perhaps at this point disagree with me running high resilience and you'd rather just go high recovery, again, I'll explain those choices a little later on, but some honorable mentions for people that don't want to use things like Thread of Binding or don't see a use in Thread of Finality. You can go for things like Thread of Mind. This gives you class ability energy for defeating suspended targets. So you use your class ability to suspend someone, then you defeat them ideally and get some back. Then you can also go Thread of Transmutation. This gives you the ability to create tangles on every weapon kill while you have Woven Mail, and it gives you plus 10 strength, which is nice. And of course, with this build, you're going to have Woven Mail the majority of the time. Lastly, there's Thread of Continuity, which gives us the plus 10 strength, which is nice, but is mainly used to have longer effective duration. This is like Durance on Stasis. The reason I did not choose these fragments is because I don't think you need the class ability energy and need to create tangles when you have Woven Mail. These are both kill-based perks or abilities, so while they are handy and nice, I don't see them as valuable as the stats currently, especially now with Powerful Friends and Radiant Light going away, or at least their stat bonuses. We need the stats more than ever on a Hunter. Lastly, Thread of Continuity. I just don't think suspending people for longer is entirely worth it. They can still fight and shoot you, and good players are going to snap to you and be able to shotgun you, or at least put pressure on you still. So I don't think suspending players, and sometimes even melee you, I should say. So I don't think suspending players for a longer time is entirely worth it, at least for this build. Now I'll talk about my stat choices on this build. I'm sure that is a point of curiosity because I've opted in for high resilience, high mobility, and mid-low recovery. Now, there's a reason for that, but I'd say your priority with this build on the Hunter is always going to be 10 mobility, 10 discipline. The grapple is the center of the build. We want to have the grapple literally in every instance we can think that we want it, because we want woven mail and we want that mobility. I really think it's the strongest part of the class. So 10 mobility for our class ability and even strafe speed, and 10 discipline I think is the biggest priority for stats to hit. Otherwise, I think if you're going to play high res, you want to go for 8 or 9 resilience, and I'll explain why in a moment. And then for recovery, your different splits for recovery is to hit 5, 8, or 10. Other values have a kind of weird in the middle fraction of a second bonus, and I'd rather go for the on the dot seconds to know exactly how long my recovery is going to take. At 5 recovery, it's an 8-second regen to full recovery. At 8 recovery, it's a 7-second regen, and at 10 recovery, it's a 6-second regen. That being said though, you can choose what you think is the best, but those are the best values in my opinion. Now, I'll try and explain my decision to go for high resilience rather than high recovery on the Hunter, which is I think a little unconventional at this point. The main purpose of this is to counteract SMGs. I think SMGs kill insanely quickly right now, especially the aggressives, and spoilers, there's an aggressive Trials SMG that looks insane on the horizon. So I think that high resilience to counter these SMGs that are more prevalent in 3s and Rumble than they are in 6s is a wise choice for me, as I'm mainly a pulse rifle player or hand cannon player that struggles to keep up with those SMGs TTK sometimes. 8 resilience is the value that takes the SMGs from a 9-shot kill to a 10-shot kill, being a 9 crit kill to a 7 crit 3 body. And that's actually a decent shift in time to kill. It goes from a 0.67 to a 0.77. So to start, that's why I've gone with 8 resilience. But then I've also chosen to go with high resilience because I want to combo it with the damage resistance of woven mail to really ramp it up quite a bit and put more pressure on SMGs and weapons in general to have to hit headshots to get a decent time to kill on me. I'll put a spreadsheet on the screen right here that I made just to quickly demonstrate how this works against my main target, which is the aggressive SMGs. At 8 resilience with no woven mail, like I said, it's an optimal 10-shot kill, 0.77 seconds, in 7 crit 3 body. An 11-shot kill though at 8 res is 5 crit 6 body. That's just under 50% critical hit ratio for a 0.83. For a 12-shot, it's 3 crit 9 body, and 13-shot, it's 1 crit 12 body. Very, very easy to hit those, and you're likely not going to have anyone missing that many crits, I think, unless they're at extreme ranges with an SMG. But let's take a look now at 8 res with woven mail. So our 10-shot kill becomes a 9 crit 1 body. That's pretty close to just 100% critical hit ratio, save for the 1 body. And then the 11 shot gets raised as well to a 7 crit 4 body. The 12 shot goes from a very easy 3 crit non-body to 6 crit 6 body for that 0.93, and then 13 shots from a single crit previously becomes 5 crit 8 body for that 1 second time to kill. I chose 8 resilience though with woven mail because it seemed the most optimal. If we take a look at 9 resilience with woven mail, there's not a big impactful shift. We have the 11 and 12 shot time to kills just requiring an additional critical hit, which I think for an entire tier that is so valuable in those top 3 stats on Hunter, it's probably not worth it. If we look at 10 res as well, the difference between 8, 9, and 10 firstly for the optimal doesn't ever change because it's mainly critical hits. Another reason for me choosing the 8 res and not seeing value in any resilience higher than that, but the 11 shot time to kill from 9 to 10 is the same as well, even the 12 shot. So that's my reasoning and rationale for choosing high resilience, and I'm still testing it, but so far I'm loving it. Remember, resilience also gives you less flinch. So both aspects of resilience are comboing with the helmet, with the facade. It gives you even less flinch, and it gives you even more tankiness while you get the mobility of the grapple and the 10 mobility. So just to recap for stats, our priority is 10 mobility and 10 discipline. Other stats, not so impactful. After that, we want to choose 5, 8, or 10 recovery based on our liking and what we see value in. And then after that, we want to choose if we want to play high res or low res. and playing high res will probably make us sacrifice recovery, and then playing low res will probably allow us to get higher recovery. Now let's talk about mod choices and what I'd recommend to prioritize on. So on our helmet, we want to go for our appropriate targeting mods. Unfortunately, Dynamo, Distribution, Bomber, and any perks like that at this point don't work with the Suspend Dive is what I'm going to call it. And I don't know if that's intentional or not, but as a result, I can't really recommend Dynamo. Instead, just load up on the targetings, and if you want, maybe a Siphon mod or a Armor Charge for Intellect. On our arms, the biggest priority is going to be Grenade Kickstart and Impact Induction. Grenade Kickstart right now is, I think, so powerful that it's probably not intentional. When you grapple something that it won't latch onto, meaning like I think an enemy or it could be a teammate as well, but when you grapple just dead space or like a wall or something, it gives back slightly over half your single grapple charge. I don't think that's intentional. Also, you can repeatedly just grapple your one grapple point to keep having Kickstart repeatedly give you energy until you have both charges back. Again, I am fairly certain this is not intentional and it's kind of broken, but it's here right now, so I think it is standard and necessary to run. Impact Induction just gives you another way to get that downtime on your grapple reduced when you don't have the grapple as well. And I've chosen just to include an example of an Orb Creator mod. You can use Firepower simply because the grapple melee, I believe, counts as a grenade kill. I hope I'm not wrong about that, but some sort of an orb gen mod, if you're looking to run the armor charge system, will be required, and I'll talk more about that in a second. On our chest piece, I strongly recommend you prioritizing getting triple unflinching of whatever you may be using. Maybe even if it does require you to use a small stat mod like a 1-cost mobility. Hopefully your stats can be good enough for that, but triple unflinching, just like the resilience unflinching, adds on to the unflinching of the helmet with woven mail. So you get very little flinch, and that is all very synergistic. The boots are kind of a flex spot. Right now, scavengers are working in PvP, which I also assume is not intentional, but it's here right now, so you can go for scavengers, you can go for orb bonus perks like recuperation, you can go for holsters. Really, it's your freedom pick here. On the class item, I'm currently using utility kickstarts simply because I think they're the easiest and most impactful thing, and as far as I'm aware, they do work with the suspend dive, so that's good. Otherwise though, I would recommend if you're looking to supplement your stats with the armor charge system. Let's say you've chosen to go low recovery like me, or maybe you can't quite get to 10 discipline with the stats that you want, or maybe you want to supplement another stat that you prioritize or make up for something that you can't quite reach that you want with the armor charge system. This is kind of the icing on the cake. I don't think this is something that you should play for or consider all the time, but if you feel like you have enough mods that you're content with your build and you just have more spots, you can use the armor charge system. I've shown here that I would use Font of Restoration, and if I was using this and this wasn't disabled, I would use the Reaper class mod over Utility Kickstart, simply because the whole loop of this class is grappling in, suspend diving, getting a kill, and repeating. And the Reaper mod synergizes perfectly with that because you're using your class ability to dive in, and then you're gonna shortly get a kill right after you do that, ideally, so you'd create an orb and activate your armor charge system. Taking a look at our weapons now, as far as weapon recommendations, I would recommend anything that you enjoy, but I'd recommend it having some sort of grenade and melee synergy. I think one of the best parts about the grapple melee is it counts as both a melee kill and a grenade kill, and at least as a melee hit, I want to say, in most cases. So you can really get some synergy with melee or grenade perks. I think Demolitionist is a very good perk for this build because, again, grapple uptime is king. The whole build revolves around having your grapple, so you want to have that at every possible moment. Demolitionist helps us to do that. Swash and Adrenaline Junkie are both really good perks for this as well if you're interested in those kill perks. For me, I am especially loving the entire synergy of this build and this class with the Blunt Execution Rounds perk. The PXR-55 is my favorite weapon in the game, and this is my favorite perk in the game, And with this build, I have never gotten so much uptime on this perk, and it is awesome. I also recommend opening shot or just any sort of accuracy boost. You're gonna want to have the best accuracy possible when you're in the air. And while it might not be specifically in-air accuracy, accuracy as a whole always still helps even in the air. So I think that's important. And then finally, you want to go for things like LE cap or any sort of AE bonuses. You're going to be spending a lot of time charging in and flying in the air. So you want to be accurate while you're doing so. Looking at my BXR as an example here, I have steady rounds that benefits the stability, and as a result, less flinch on the weapon, you know, adding on just multiple sources of less flinch. And again, getting the AE bonus for when I'm in the air, so multiple points of synergy. Then we have demo for grapple uptime, and like I said, BXR to make our combos a little bit more lethal and have more utility or potential. That just about wraps it up for my optimized Strand Hunter build. I hope you guys like this build. I personally think this is the best and strongest way to be playing the Strand Hunter, and probably most fun in my opinion. I'm sure there's other great ways of playing the class too, that as time goes on and people try out different exotics, find out or figure out different things, we'll see multiple ways to play it, but at this current point, this is my favorite way and what I think is the best. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, and thanks for watching.